All right, here is the next project. You recognize this car here? Give you a hint. All right, yep. 1960 Pontiac Bonneville. Power, performance, and luxury. Cadillac-like luxury, or better engine, with the performance behind it. So look at that shark grill, isn't that the coolest thing? This thing's in excellent shape. I bought this car sight unseen, and it wasn't running too well. It was actually owned by a mechanic, but he had so many cars, he put this in the back, and he couldn't get it running very well, even to get on the trailer. Of course, it's got the legendary 389 Pontiac engine with an AFB carb. I'm going to test that out, see if I need to rebuild it. The engine runs, but I could hardly get it to run to get it off the trailer and into the garage. And what it was, they played around with it. I worked with them on the phone. They checked this. None of that stuff worked. And the problem turned out to be the power brake booster. I took it off. I just got the parts back, so I'm gonna get that thing back together. But inside there's a little, U-shaped hose, and it cracked, and there was a vacuum leak, and that was causing all the problem. Major vacuum leaks, so nothing would run right. The distributor was in really bad shape too. In fact, the points wire was held on. It worked, but it was held on by just a single strand of wire. This is really cool. See this fuel line here? It's got the sediment tank. Because it has AC, the AC cars are quite rare. This was for AC cars only because it was to stop vapor lock, so it had its own fuel return. So anyway, I got all new brake lines and all new fuel lines. I just put the main brake line in. I'm finishing that up now. But anyway, let's take a look inside of this car. It's the Vista top. That's primarily what I was interested in anyway. I've always wanted one of these. So anyway, let's take a look inside here. It has a really nice kind of a factory rubber vinyl smell in here still. It's pretty neat. One thing about these cars, not just the heat and not just the AC, but it actually has underneath the carpet here in the tunnel, there's a heater vent that goes to the back seats. So the back seats get immediate heat as well. So this is the AC dash, and this is an all-power car, power seats, power windows, and even the radio works. And it's not a multiplex speaker, but it's front and rear. That actually works. But the cool thing I noticed, I've driven Lincolns and other 50s era cars and a lot of 60s era cars, I suppose you could say. This is the first car that I noticed the power steering at a sit still. When you hit the wheel, you don't hear the power steering pump struggling and then working. It just moved just like it is now, just like butter. You didn't even hear the engine losing torque from turning the wheel. Just kind of goes how strong these motors are. But yeah, it's got these really cool radio style air conditioning controls, and so when the engine's running, you hear the vacuum, just like so. It's got the Hydromatic transmission, which not only was the best transmission available, Buick and Oldsmobile did not get this transmission. That's actually the reason you wouldn't want to buy. Compared to this car, that would be the reason to buy the Pontiac over the Buick and Oldsmobile, is the transmission. Hydromatic in 1960 was a better transmission, in my opinion, than anything that occurred in the 70s. Bulletproof transmission. Of course, the Buick and the Oldsmobile and the Chevy didn't have the wide track. So the front and rear wheelbase on these cars, of course I took everything off, but yeah, you had much more highway stability on these cars. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm pulling I pulled all the suspension parts off. This one had a differential oil leak. The axle oil was just all over the brakes, ruined the brake shoes. And it was a real nasty, thick stuff too. So I'm hoping the differential's not ruined. We'll find that out. I did get new springs for the purpose of extra tongue weight on this car. Look at the car's stance from the rear here. I mean, is that a car or what? Opening up the trunk. This is kind of a neat feature. It was if you had to change a tire, you could unwheel this light, and the cord actually rolls up inside of it. So, monster trunk. Of course, these were famous for that. The deck of the trunk, you could put a pool table on this thing. And you know, I've never seen what do you call it, fender skirts on one of these before. Looks like a bias ply tire. Seen better days. Mercury switch. Bumper's in excellent shape on this car. Pretty straight too. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull this off tonight. I sandblasted the rest of them, and I just didn't take this one off because I thought it was all right, but I ended up buying a set of wheel bearings, so I'm gonna pull that off anyway and put a new axle bearing on this. These are sealed bearings. I tried to re-grease the other one and didn't work out too well. So tonight, yeah, I'm gonna finish putting the brake lines on and getting that off. And up front here, the upper lower control arms, the upper bushings, I'm redoing the upper control arm and the ball joints. The lower control arms still look pretty solid. I do have the parts for that. I may or may not pull them off. I can do that at a later time. But anyway, yeah, all the sheet metal in here is solid. It's not rusty. I should have brought my light in here. Sorry about that. So that's just a quick overview. I was going to show you one more thing. This, you know, the Pontiac distributors, they turn the opposite direction, and so they're kind of harder to find. You have less, but instead of putting an HEI, I just wanted to stick with the points one and keep it simple at first. I'm not sure what I want to get to improve the ignition in the future, but this sucker was all galled up. Let me pull that distributor cap off and I'll show you how nice it looks now. Just give me 1 second here. So, let's see if we can get into the viewfinder here. So what you want to do, let me see if I can get some better light. The original spark trigger wire here, the negative wire that goes on the distributor, you know, if those are gone, of course you always want to replace those. It was, like I say, it was connected with one strand of wire. But the actual wire that grounds the point plate, you're just screwing it on, it's not a perfect ground. But I cleaned that up and re-soldered it. Let's see if I can get the camera. There it is right there. So, yeah, I cleaned that up, put new hardware in there and everything. The clip is kind of unique, that little copper clip. I couldn't find a replacement one, so I just cleaned it up and kept it. So yeah, the continuity is as good as it's ever going to get. And one little quick story, and then we'll end this section of the video. When I was a kid, in the top drawer, the kitchen drawer, you know, you throw all the junk and batteries and stuff. At my grandpa's house, there was this screwdriver with a Phillips head on the end, and it had a spring loaded. Now, I always asked him, "What is that?" I don't remember if he knew or not, but it was a points adjusting screwdriver, so I still have that. I'm glad I kept it because I'll use it on this car, so we'll show you that a little bit later on. Other thing I have is a old Heathkit oscilloscope for tuning points and dwell and timing, so we'll use that for the first time on this car as well. So it's time to get to work. And let's see what we can get done here. Hi, we're back here to continue on this predicament of the 60 Bonneville bought sight unseen. Have not driven it yet, so before I get to the engine, I do want to finish the suspension stuff because that makes for a better ride, and always you get the tough stuff out of the way. Fun stuff I save till later. So yeah, I'm going to be pulling that carb off pretty soon because I know it's all mucked up. If you saw the junk that was in the gas tank. So yeah, we're going to get to this here today, and I got the rear end off. I got everything except for I misordered. I ordered 4 shocks and I only got 3, and I'm waiting for some parts to be sandblasted. But yeah, I got the axles back from the drive shaft shop. They put these, I open them up. You want to repack these with your grease, a good synthetic grease. The stuff they come with is just garbage. And had this done locally. The tank was totally rusted out, and they soak them and clean them and everything. A radiator shop here in town. I almost hate to tell you how little money I paid to have that done. It kind of shocked me because I had a tank done down in Omaha. It was at least 4 times the cost. This was just over $50 for the guy to go through this whole tank. And you can't get these for the Bonnevilles. So look how wide this car. I can't even fit it in the viewfinder. So this is going to be so awesome sailing down the road in this thing. I mean, compared to the Cadillac, it's so streamlined, so, clean lines. So let's get to it. Another cool thing though, the other day, this place had a big sale, a place that I do business with, on all their Milwaukee stuff. So it finally got me, instead of carrying this bag around all the time, this canvas bag, a nice box to categorize all my stuff in. So that's going to be neat. So anyway, we're going to get started. We're going to take the shock out and compress this spring and try to get these ball joints off. And let's see if it's as easy as they say.